And then let me put on Insta.
Okay.
You should put on Insta too.
I'm not on Instagram right now.
What do you mean? Why not?
I deleted it for now.
Why?
Because it's just like been, I don't know,
What?
it can be really helpful and it can be really great, but it can also be a distraction, and I'm kind of annoyed with it right now.
I get it. I understand.
So that's why.
Well, even though Alex has deleted Instagram, I'm putting her on anyway. I like your post. You always post cool stuff.
Thank you. That's the goal.
What's weird is so I do these live on Instagram, but I can only get my side on it because you can't put like both people into it. So it's really
Okay,
lame.
I'll be really dynamic with my voice.
Yeah, be loud. I have this music on too to kind of like give a little spice to the Instagram. You can never hear it over on Facebook. Watch, I'll throw it on Facebook right now. Do you have a way of sharing on Facebook?
I do.
Okay. When you see it go live, share it.
Okay.
Preparing for live stream in 3. Hold on. 2. Let me title it Good News Interview. Welcome to the Good News Interview with my pal, Alexandra. You know what? I'll tag you. Alexandra. There you are. Okay. And let's go. Let's do this.
Let's go.
All right. I believe we're now streaming. So if you see it, share it. And if you come into the room, share it. If you're watching it later on YouTube, share it, subscribe, whatever. This is what I call a good news interview, and it's with my pal. Do you go by Alexandra or Alex? 'Cause I always call you Alex, but now I see everywhere your name's Alexandra.
You can call me Alex.
Can I? Is that like what your friends call you?
I mean, my full name is Alexandra, but sometimes people say it weird, and it makes me uncomfortable hearing it.
Like when I say it, Alexandra.
My mom will always call me Alexandra, though. So
I want to see. Okay, I can't see what. Never mind. If you see comments, let me know because my computer is getting all whacked with too much stuff on it right now.
Yeah.
All right, here we are. We are in quarantine. We're in a pandemic. Let me turn you up. How are you doing? How are you surviving?
I am actually doing pretty good right now. The last couple weeks I was in Oregon with my family. That was crazy and a little intense. But now I'm back in California, and all my roommates are gone, so I have the whole house to myself.
Ooh.
So I've kind of like taken over the whole first floor and made it my domain.
I want to talk about that for a second, but I forgot to read a verse.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with a verse.
Okay.
So I'm doing Ephesians chapter 2, verse 4, where it says, "But God, being rich in mercy because of the great love with which he loved us, even when we were dead in our trespasses, made us alive together with Christ. By grace you have been saved." So good. Okay, you said Oregon. Tell me what the difference is in Oregon and California with the quarantine and the pandemic.
Oregon was quite a few days behind California, and so California shut things down a lot sooner. California is just way more populated, and so things got way more, I think, exacerbated here than they did in Oregon. But so I think they were like 5 days apart. California did the stay-at-home order, and then I went home to Oregon, and then like 2 days into me being home, then Oregon did the stay-at-home order. But I think because there's not as many people in Oregon who are actually like feeling the weight of this, there's a lot of people who just are like, this isn't real. So that's when.
Do you mean like they, like I guess in Portland and whatnot, haven't really had an outbreak?
Well, where my family is in Bend, it's a smaller town in like Central Oregon. And so they're not feeling the weight of it as much as bigger cities like LA or Orange County. Because like right now, I know like 20 people who either have contracted COVID or know somebody who has, and even like know somebody who's died from it already here in California. And in Oregon, there's just not that many cases at the moment. So yeah,
that's interesting.
mm-hmm.
So,
But it's also like Oregon's so outdoorsy, and so people are still going outside and just like being outside.
like totally breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you were in Oregon for a while. What was the coolest moment, or it could be here too? What's been your like? I know. So obviously, there's a lot of bad. This is a good news interview. So within the bad, what is something kind of like been kind of neat for you?
For me, so I work 3 part-time jobs, and my normal like rhythm of life is very fast-paced, and there's a lot that goes on every day, and I'm like jumping from one job to the other within like the day so many times. And so I think for me, my job with the church and everything has changed, and like I'm doing different things now, and in some ways it seems a little more overwhelming, but in other ways it's been, I think, like really good timing for me to be able to step back and like and breathe. And so for me it's been so good, I think, spiritually in a way that I don't think I really expected, because I think you have 2 choices in seasons and moments like this, where you can choose to kind of just like, oh great, I don't have to go into work, I'm just gonna lay on the couch and watch Netflix all day.
Yeah.
Or on the opposite side, there's moments where it's like, okay, I don't have 17 different things distracting me right now, so I get to press in to like what the Lord is speaking and what he's doing in the church and in my life and in this season. And so that's been, I think, huge for me. Is I had I think there was a moment when I was with my family when I was really overwhelmed because there's 10 people at my house in Oregon, and I like got so overwhelmed with everything that was going on, and I was like, I need to step away and be by myself and like sit with Jesus, because I am at my emotional capacity. And so I did. I like went away and I sat in my sister's room and just kind of like sat with Jesus, and it was so sweet. It was just like such a good it's such a good practice to step away. And so I've been trying to be much more intentional with that in quarantine. It's like part of my daily rhythm and my daily routine is stepping away to sit with Jesus, because I think that there's things that he's doing in the church and in me and in our community right now that are so imperative for us to sit and listen to, because it's going to make or break the way that we step back into life when like everything goes back to normal, or whatever normal looks like from here.
Yeah. I actually really appreciate your perspective, because I think surrounded by families with kids, and so all my feed is about kids and how crazy life was before, and then how crazy life is now, but it's all kid related. How old are you?
I'm 23.
23, and no kids that you know of, correct?
No kids.
Just out of college, 3 part-time jobs. So let's talk through that. Yeah, you kind of said it there, but finding your rhythm in quarantine life, finding time with God. How have your jobs changed?
Well, a lot. So I actually, here's another good news thing if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it, because that's what this is all about.
Right. I got a job at Starbucks a week before all of this happened. And so I literally put in 2 hours of training at Starbucks, and then they closed because they couldn't have people in the store anymore. But because I had put in 2 hours, I am now considered a partner with Starbucks, and they are giving all their employees what they call catastrophe pay. And so
Wow.
I'm still getting paid. I was pulled on as a part-time employee, so I'm getting paid for 25 hours. And I like put in 2 hours of work there total. And
That,
so that was a major blessing for me because yeah, so I'm still getting paid from them. And then with the church with young adults, obviously things have shifted dramatically in how we meet and everything, but
tell me about that. So your young adults, what was your title?
I'm an intern.
Intern? Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were obviously having young adult groups on Sunday nights
Yes.
and some life groups and stuff and whatnot. Lots of get-togethers.
Yeah.
So now young adults, how are you even like connecting with them and reaching them?
Yeah, so actually we're still doing young adults. We're meeting on Zoom every week. And so everybody calls in. We have a big, massive group Zoom, and we had 55 young adults last night.
Okay.
So we meet together on Zoom. We kind of talk just about what's going on in our church, what's going on with young adults. And then Zoom has a feature where you can do breakout groups.
Oh,
And so
that's awesome.
then from there, everybody breaks out into their life groups, and we do life groups together. And then we come back, and then we all just kind of like briefly talk about how it went, and then kind of do like send off. So that's like weekly what our meetings have now, like the last few weeks, what they look like. And then community wise, I mean, it's really cool because I think the last couple months in our young adults, things have really shifted in community, and people enjoy one another, and they enjoy their groups, and they enjoy the people that they're doing life with. And so it's been really cool to see how people are just naturally staying connected with one another, and we don't have to push that a lot. But we've been doing a prayer initiative with young adults, and so we've been asking different people in our ministry to send just like a short video praying over different topics and different things that are going on in our world today with like coronavirus and all these things. And so we're actually getting our young adults involved in praying over our like city and our country, and we're posting those on Instagram. And so that's been really cool to see, just kind of a way for us to engage all of our young adults in praying
Yeah.
over this whole season.
Hold on 1 second though. So you said that everyone's really liking this like community and really like starting to engage in community, but they're not in the same place. They're not together. So would you say it is, I don't want to say better, but is it almost creating more community because of this?
Yeah, I think we were kind of scratching the surface of what community looked like when we were meeting together, and it was like just starting to get to a really cool point. And when this all happened, I think I really think Kyle did a really good job of rallying people together, and because it could have just flatlined and
Yeah.
kind of dispersed, but I think the young adult ministry has done a good job of pulling people together. And so because it's really easy to isolate yourself and to step away from people right now because they're not physically around, but I've seen like our life group leaders and our young adults continue to reach out to one another, continue to like keep in contact and pray over one another, and just kind of do life together as much as they can right now, which has been really cool to see. So yeah, it looks different and it's hard and it's not optimal, but I think that it's bonding people. I mean, you can bond over really good things in life, and you can bond over really hard things in life. And I think this is one of those seasons where our young adults are bonding over a really similar tough place.
Yeah.
So.
And if you are watching on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, you can put in comments as well if you want to ask a question. Someone said, I need an old adults because you keep saying young adults. I think that's funny. I wish I was called a young adult. That's like that's the coolest age ever, right? Young adult. Because there's like sky's the limit, but you're not too young. You
Feels.
got 3 jobs. What was the third one?
I nanny.
Oh yeah, that's right. Are you still doing that?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's so when this all started, I actually started out the stay-at-home order with a mandatory quarantine for myself because I was in the hospital for a little bit. And so I couldn't go anywhere, do anything for a week. And then right after that happened, then like all of the orders kind of got stricter in California. And so I couldn't do anything that first week. And then it just kind of like, everybody had to be home, and I think people want to protect their families and stuff. So
yeah. Were you in the hospital for something else, or like?
Yeah. Yeah. I just got a really bad migraine, and it went on for almost 2 days, and it was just really not great. And so I went into the hospital, and because I was at the hospital where they also had COVID patients, they wanted to test me for COVID. I came back negative, but then they told me to quarantine myself for a little while just to make sure I didn't pick anything up at the hospital.
That's cool.
I'm good.
Good. I'm glad. Okay, so now you're in quarantine. You've had this time with God. You're separating yourself. Jobs are okay. What's next for you? How are you? Or let me say it like this: has God revealed something to you for your future, and what may be next for you?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
At least you may.
They're kind of, I think I'm reading this book right now called The Reappearing Church, and it's all about like revival and renewal within the church. And so for me, there's like personally and just like logistically, there are a ton of up in the air things right now. And then I think coming out of really however long this goes and what happens with all of this is going to be a huge determining factor of just what happens next. But I think the biggest thing for me that I've had to hold on to is I think my job right now, like not literally my like actual job, but just like my job as a human being and as a follower of Jesus. I think right now the Lord is just really stirring my spirit to like intensely pursue relationship with him. Because I think I've been studying and looking a lot into what good leadership and good shepherding and all of those things look like. And I think really where that starts and where it originates, good leadership comes from like good routine and good I think like dedication for your own life. And so like you can't expect people to follow you if you're not going to first go there yourself. And so if I want to be like a catalyst for change within the church or within like the culture, then I have to first like catalyze myself. I don't know if that's a word, but
because I know you just a little bit. How do you think the church needs to like learn from this or be different or move to reach young people? What do you think the changes should look like, or at least might?
I don't know. I'm not anyway gonna like pretend that I have all my answers or anything like that. But I just
do it like
I think
from your personal, like your feelings about church and how it was, how it is now, how it should be different. Like, what's your kind of feelings on it?
I think that we just need, as a church community and as like the body of Christ, need to push and pursue what it looks like to be fully abandoned to the cause of Christ. Because it's really easy to be lukewarm, but once like the Lord asks for actual sacrifice or asks for you to actually lay things down that are comfortable or that are easy or are feel good, that's when it gets hard. And so I think for me in this season of having like being forced to lay down a lot of things, I think that's what it it comes down to it comes down to being fully abandoned to whatever Jesus would do. And yeah, and I think just being willing to say yes to wherever he's going to push next. And that's the season that I'm in right now, is I have no idea what is going to happen next. I have no idea job wise, or like even like housing and all these different things. I don't know what is going to happen, but I think resting in a place of like, all right, God, I know that like you want to use me in some really cool ways. And so my job right now is to like run hard after you and watch what doors you open, and be willing to like say yes when you open them and push me through them. And I think that's something that we gotta, as followers of Jesus, that we have to be willing to do, just to say yes. And I think it's really easy to say that you would say yes, but then when those things come, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but what do you think Jesus would be doing in the midst of this pandemic? I want to know what you'd say yes to.
I think he's really stirring up his church to do things differently.
Okay, what does that mean?
I don't know. I haven't figured out the answer to that.
Well, so here's the deal. A young adult, and I don't mean this in any sort of negative way, but young adults are really good at saying we need to like, there needs to be something different. Like we need to be more like Jesus. We need to stir up and begin to say yes to what Jesus has called us to. But to put it in actual like, okay, well, what does that mean? How does that actually, what are the action steps forward that the church isn't doing that they need to be doing? That's where it's hard for young adults to articulate and really help this next generation understand that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary that the church isn't doing,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think my generation is like known for getting complacent, and so I think that what it comes down to is it comes down to accountability. It comes down to intentional community and intentional discipleship. And so if you don't have people keeping you accountable to like running after Jesus, or like you should always have people in your life that are keeping you accountable to that. You should always have community that like iron sharpening iron, where they push you to do better, be better, continue to run after the purposes that Jesus has placed on your life, and intentional discipleship. If you don't have mentors and people around you who can call things out, who can see things in you and pull those things out and call you to a higher standard, then you're never going to grow. And so I think all around the church, like believers, those are the things that we need. That we need to pursue and that we need to walk in, because you're always going to sit in a really complacent place if you have nobody who's pushing you, nobody who's driving you. You look at like the early church and the way that they did life together, and they spurred one another on in love and good works, and so they gathered together daily. They broke bread together daily. They were continually on this pursuit of like, how are we going to further the gospel? How are we going to bring Jesus's like gospel to the ends of the earth? And that was something that was continually on the forefront of their minds, and everything that they did and everything that they said and everywhere that they walked, it was like, my purpose and my like walk is to make the name of Jesus great. And I think that sometimes it's really easy to lose that passion, because it's like, I've been saved, I'm going to heaven, this is like an easy place for me to stand in. But it's like, what about the people around you? And so surround yourself with people who are going to push one another to continue to like run hard after that.
Yeah. And I appreciate the word intentional. I think that's key in that whole thing that you just said, because intentional discipleship means that you're you are pushing in and actually making it happen, not just expecting it to happen, expecting to be put into a group and then expecting the group to somehow include you, and or
Yeah.
intentional accountability.
Mhm.
Intentional accountability means you actually pursue someone to give you accountability. Like you
Mhm.
mentioned, the disciples or even the early church. Yeah, I think the key there was the intentionality of each other moving forward and pushing each other moving forward.
Yeah.
Where I think what you're saying is the church people have started just coming and expecting those things, but getting really complacent and just kind of sitting and showing up or not showing up, but not having that intentional accountability to like push each other forward, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate, Matt, what you're saying. I'm reading your comments as well, in that saying and doing are two different things, but once you start doing, just even if the small things, God, it gets easier and God will use you in those things.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think, well, let me ask you this. What are some of the unique things that have changed and are beginning to happen now that you don't want us to ever lose, especially with young adults?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because you've seen church has been really different, right?
mhm.
So what's been really unique and cool and things that we need to make sure that we're holding on to?
I think um, I've seen people step into like another level of vulnerability right now, because I think we're all in a place where it's uncomfortable and it's weird. And like I've been doing calls to our young adults ministry and stuff, and people are so willing to just share what is actually going on in their heart. And I love that. And I think
Yeah,
that
no,
that
that's
is,
really good. That's a great insight. People are being real right now.
mhm. And I so hope that we never lose that, because that when you like when you step in and allow people to see your weaknesses and like hard things that you're walking through, it allows people to walk with you in such a more real and raw way. And I think that's so important. And it's so easy to, I think, especially in how our culture does life right now, and even our church too, it's so easy to put on a face and to like
Yeah,
walk through life like everything's good, everything's okay, I'm like, but vulnerability leads to deep rooted relationships, and it allows us to bear one another's burdens, and to walk with one another in like the highs and lows of life. And so that's one thing that I hope never changes. And I think also the intentionality of people reaching out and checking in on the people in their life,
yeah,
um, because they have time to do it, and there's not, um, it's like it's easy right now. And so I hope that people continue to, um, and it gets hard when life gets in the way, but that I think is so key. Just being available for people. Um,
yeah. I think we got lazy, and you know, like if they weren't in your life group or something you did every week, that's the only group you were checking in on. Whereas now we're like, oh no, we have a larger family, and everyone's feeling vulnerable, and so it kind of becomes easier to be vulnerable.
yeah.
Yeah, I hope we don't lose that either. Is there any part that you don't like that well, that's a tough question, but something that needs to be fixed sooner than later?
About what's happening right now.
Yeah, except for obviously COVID-19. Don't say that. Because obviously we want a cure, but just
um,
like we need to also improve as we continue to learn.
um, I mean, I think the obvious is people, I think we're realizing the importance of community.
Yeah,
Because now you're forced into solitude, and it's like, like I've been seeing all these memes of people that are like, as soon as this is over, I promise I'll say yes to anything you invite me to. It's like real,
yeah,
because now that that's stripped away from you, it's like, oh, this is actually something that is like really important and healthy.
yeah. And that's what Matt is saying on here too. I think Zoom is cool, and I probably have connected with people more over Zoom than I may have even did before. Having said that, interaction with people, like when I go running, I try and go running every day,
Mm-hmm.
And I try and really go out of my way to smile and wave, whereas before I was like just in a zone. It was about me, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, I need that interaction. Smile at me. And then there's that person that's wearing like the bandana and the hat low, and they look the other way. And I'm like, no, we cannot have,
Smile.
that can't be our future. We can't have that society.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I see myself craving the interaction with people, just in running. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part that I can't wait
And
for that.
I also love seeing the ways that communities have rallied around one another. Like our church is doing a food drive, um, it's just so cool to see. I follow this thing on Instagram called the Good News Movement, and it's like this guy who just posts all these good stories that he sees of people just loving on and helping one another. and
Nice.
and I think right now people are so much more clued into like, oh, there's people out here who need help. And
Yeah.
so watching people bring groceries to like the elderly community. When I was in Oregon, my dad, he's helping the school district deliver food to low income families and kids who now like don't get their meals. And so the school district is continuing to make lunches, and then they get delivered to the families. And there's a whole group of people who are just like so eager to help and are like jumping on that and grabbing all these foods and bringing them all over the city to all these families.
Yeah. My favorite part of that is I feel like people are taking ownership and they're doing it. It's not like they're filtering it as if the church has to do it. Because I
Yeah.
always hate that when the church is a pass through for you.
Yeah.
No, it
And I think it's so easy, especially now, to make excuses of like, oh, but there's no way to do that sanitary, or like I can't get in contact, or all these things. But then you look and there's people who are doing it. They're like sanitizing everything. You leave it on the doorstep. You have no contact with the family, but you're still loving them and you're still caring for them. And like my dad's leaving notes with all of them just to like let them know that there's people who love them and are praying for them. And so there's super easy and tangible ways to continue to love on people and like be the hands and feet of Jesus right now. And I love seeing that people are extra aware of that. And I hope that also never changes.
Yeah.
So.
Me too. All right. Well, I obviously I know you and I like you, but I also wanted that younger person kind of perspective in the midst of this. Is there anything else that you would just say representing the entire young adult generation of people?
No, I mean, I'm really grateful that you wanted to chat with me and stuff. I don't know that it's like.
No, you're smart. You're smart.
Yeah, I just think the way that we step in and handle this season right now is going to make or break what happens when we get out of it. So I think
Totally.
the Lord is like really, really tilling the soil and like preparing us for something. And so I think right now is a bigger time than ever to get our like hearts in alignment with the Father's, so that we can walk with him in whatever exciting things he has on the other side of this. So
I would agree. I think a lot of people are watching the church, and I think the church is doing a good job. And so I just pray they continue, and we see a lot of people's lives change because of this. It's really cool. Well, this is Alex Harris. Alex, do you want to promote anything? You got anything coming up? Young adults can join what? How do they join? Yeah,
find us on Instagram. Follow our page. We are doing right now. Everybody's doing on the Bible app. We're doing a devotional together. So if you guys want to come and do that with us, anybody.
What is it like in case someone doesn't go to Friends Church?
What the Bible app?
Friends.church/
Oh,
what's your
I don't know, but if you find us on Instagram, the link is on there.
Go on Instagram, look up Friends Church.
Friends _church YA.
Oh, so there is something. Okay, Friends _church YA.
Yes, that's the Instagram account.
All right, cool. Hang on a second. I'm going to pull us off of live, but then I'll talk to you and off of Insta and off of this record.